Alright lads, let's talk a bit about Sigarda. Host of Herons and a couple of changes I made. And then I just ramble on a bit afterwards about information in the game, starting information. So for Sigarda, she's one of my oldest decks, and I had this Burgeoning in here, and I was gold fishing with her, and I managed to have Knight of the Reliquary in play. So 1 green, white, 2/2 human knight gets +1/+1 for every land in my graveyard. Tap, sack of forest or plains, search my library for land card, throw it in the battlefield, and then shuffle up. So I had her, and I had used her to go find my... This is relevant too, so I'll just set that aside for the moment. Where the hell is my Cradle of Growth? Dun, 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 dun. There's a relevant card, I'll take it out. And another one. That'll be important to the story in a moment. There it is. My bloody Cradle of Growth. So, I had Knight of the Reliquary out. Used her to go find my Cradle of Growth, turning every land into a forest so I can sacrifice any land I wish and go find another land. Makes my Riftstone portal much better. Riftstone portal, as long as it's in your graveyard, well, I can just show it to you. As long as it's in your graveyard, lands you control can produce green or white. So as long as you have a Riftstone portal in your graveyard, all of your lands are savannas, in addition to whatever they would be normally. And then I just was playing around with the deck, checking it. Where the hell is my Riftstone portal? It's up at the top, isn't it? Yeah, there it is. So that's what Riftstone portal looks like for those of you not familiar with it, which I imagine would be a lot of lads, because even during Judgment, this is not a popular card. So, like I said, gives well, I didn't say it gives one colorless, but it can, and as long as you can get it in your graveyard somehow, it turns all your lands into savannas. So I had that, and I had Crucible of Worlds and Burgeoning at one point. And I'm looking at all this. I'm looking at Knight of the Reliquary, Cradle of Growth, Crucible of Worlds, and Burgeoning, and I'm thinking, if that was an exploration, I could use Crucible and play 2 lands out of my graveyard. I could play a land from my hand and a land from my graveyard. But it's not. And why isn't this exploration? Why did I build the deck this way? The only explanation I can think of is I've had this deck a long time, and I've never had a situation before where I've had these in play. In fact, Crucible of Worlds, when I first built the deck, and I wanted to play with lands, I thought that would be a much more important card. And it's not. Actually, the important card is Cauldron of Souls. Cauldron of Souls is the key card, because what Sigarda wants to do is destroy all the creatures, but not mine. Mine come back somehow, either Crucible or not Crucible, either Cauldron of Souls or Dauntless Escort and Sun Titan combo, but my creatures continue to come back from the graveyard, meaning I have recurring one-sided border wipes in the deck. So anyway, I went ahead and bought this exploration for Sigarda, and I wasn't sure about it because I ordered it. My LGS, they've got an order system, which is far more efficient than me popping in and saying, can you look for this card? Sometimes the cards are not at the main store location, they're in an off-site location where they store cards that aren't that popular, but they keep them around for people to order. Sometimes I order a lot of little bullshit, like a lot of foil basic lands, because I just want them for the art, or I order a bunch of smaller things, and it's really annoying for everyone involved, especially the other customers in the queue, if somebody comes in and says, hey, can I have 4 of that, can I have 6 of that, can I have 7 of that? And they're not in a case, they're not in a binder, they're in a back room, so the clerk has to go in the back room, find them, pull them, and it just comes with the flow. So ordering is much better from Tolsimir Wolfblood. Very efficient. So anyway, I took out Burgeoning, and the other reason I realized I had Burgeoning is this deck used to have Thawing Glaciers. So Thawing Glaciers and Burgeoning is fantastic. You play Thawing Glaciers when it gets untapped on your turn. Tap it. At the end of the turn, it comes back to your hand. Thawing Glaciers, at the end of the turn, you activate it, comes back to your hand, and then it will come back into play, and of course comes into play tapped. So if you have Burgeoning, at the end of your turn, you bounce back the Glaciers. During your opponent's turn, and if you have multiple opponents, there's a pretty good chance one of them is going to play a land. You can just throw the Thawing Glaciers back down on their turn, so on your turn it's ready again. So it speeds up the activation of the Glaciers. But I took out the Thawing Glaciers. I never considered the ramifications and the knock-on effects on other cards. That's another reason goldfishing is good, because you can see the knock-on effects you're echoing across your deck. But anyway, this I've got the original Urza Saga Exploration in Edric. I've got the, what was it from? Was it from a master set? I've got the second version of Exploration in another deck, so I wanted something different. And I didn't know, because sometimes the retro foils that they started printing don't look that good. The foiling process is kind of janky. It doesn't look that nice, but here's pretty good. I like it. I like that they used the original quote from the Saga version. And the throwback. Lindsay Look is a new artist. I've never seen her name before. But her depiction, to me, kind of looks like a throwback to the earlier days of Magic, to this era. So that's nice. Another card I took out was Celestial Sanctuary. I've been taking out the crew lands all across my decks. I just kept it in Sigarda because of legacy reasons. The only real reason I would keep one of these in the deck anymore is the narrow off chance, and it only occurs in a black deck, that I can play it and bounce a Bojuka Bog back to my hand or something similar. I have never done that. In all the years of playing, I can never remember a time where I actually pulled off, play a Karoo land, bounce back Bog, so I can play it again. Either I get the Karoo land before I get the Bog, or I don't get the Karoo land, and subsequently I've been taking that out of my decks. For Sigarda, what she got instead of it is a Bonder's Enclave, because I wanted some other way of drawing cards. And Bonder's Enclave is pretty low-hanging fruit. I mean, if I just have Sigarda out, if at the end of any turn, mine or one of my opponents, if I have nothing else to do, 3 mana open and Bonder's Enclave, tap, draw a card. Easy. And sure, it replaced a colored mana source with a colorless mana source, but this really isn't that critical in the deck. And the deck's got plenty of mana sources. Plus, if I have Restaurant Portal in my graveyard, Bonder's Enclave says tap, add 1 colorless or 1 green or 1 white, or go ahead and wait, spend mana, draw a card. Anyway, let's talk about what is Sigarda. So something I was thinking about is years ago, back when Volcanic Island could still be had for €50, a friend of mine convinced me to play Legacy. She liked playing with me. I thought I was a fun guy to have a game with, and knew I was good enough to at least pretend to play Legacy. So I started building the Delver deck, the one back then that still had Young Pyromancer. And then I started reading these articles about it just so I could get a better idea of what the deck is doing and how it fits in the metagame. And I got onto this article that talked about what does the first land your opponent play indicate. And the example given was a Volcanic Island. If your opponent plays a Volcanic Island first turn, what does it mean? What could they be playing? What could they do next? And I thought, oh, Jesus Christ. If to play Legacy effectively, if I need to start planning it out like chess, the first move from the first land, and memorize these main decks and what the first land indicates and what they can do and how I should respond, I really don't want to do that. I don't have the time or the mental energy to burn on doing that. I just want to play some Magic, and I want to play at a high level. And that's where I started developing the idea of I'll just build some vintage decks and get some Chinese counterfeits to flesh it out. But what it made me think is, playing Commander, all of us give information to our opponents at the beginning of the game by announcing our Commander. When I announce Sigarda, they know that I'm not going to have any counterspells. Well, not really. I mean, sure, there's a lapse of certainty in white, but effectively I won't have any counterspells. I probably shouldn't have too many kill all the creature board wipes, but white, of course, does have those. I won't have that much direct damage, if any at all. White's direct damage is things like Sunlance, 1 white sorcery, deal 3 damage to target creature. But it also, Sigarda, she doesn't tell my opponents what I'm going to do. Some commanders, when you play them, they tell your opponents not only what colors you don't have access to, and so they know you won't be doing those things generally, and they tell your opponent what colors you are playing, so they can kind of Phoenix. Okay, I kind of expect some counter spells. I expect some Toxic Deluge or Damnation or some mass kill board wipes. I expect some recursion. But also, they read the text box. Creature control have tapped. Target player puts they mill equal to the creature's toughness. So they see my game plan. Now, yeah, you might get the narrow corner case where some idiot is running Phoenix that he doesn't plan to do the mill at all. He's just running it as a decoy puppet commander. But those cases are so vanishing rare for any commander that I think we can dismiss them. So you know I'm going to be playing creatures. They're going to be black and blue artifact. And you know I'm going to be milling with them. So with Phoenix, you know what my deck is supposed to do and what my game plan likely is. What I can't do, what I can do. With Sigarda, as with Sig is my other deck like this. Karthus is kind of like this, but once you play my Karthus deck against my Karthus deck once, you know it's Elves. It's so overwhelmingly Elves, you know that it's a tribal elf deck after the first game. With Sigarda, because the kill all creatures but mine, the lands, playing with lands, different land toys theme, they're so spread thin throughout the deck. I know they're there. I know I'm looking for them. But my opponents, unless I play her heavily week after week, they're not going to remember that because it's not that big of an effect. So what do they think when they see Sigarda? What is my game plan? What am I going to do? Voltron? Voltron is obviously the most linear strategy with her. Flying hexproof, so my opponents can't target her. She's got evasion. My opponents can't make me sacrifice permanents, so whatever buffs I put on her, They can't make me sacrifice. She's my only creature. You can't make me sacrifice a creature with Liliana the Veil. You can't use any of the black effects. Target player sacrifices a creature. None of that works. Annihilator doesn't work. So Voltron is the most likely strategy. But that's not my strategy. And I was just thinking about this, thinking about the information we give our opponents when we announce our commanders, and how to use that. How to use that in the game, like Rafiq. Rafiq is a Voltron deck, Enchantress Voltron, so my idea is not to buff him with the equipment, but to buff him with enchantments. So here my opponents see I don't have black, I don't have red, I won't have direct damage, I won't have black's recursion, I won't have black's board wipes, I will have white's board wipes, I'll have blue's bounce board wipes if I decide to run them. But what is he? So Exalted, creature attacks only against double strike. So you can see my game plan is probably to make one really big creature and smash face with it. Probably commander damage, which is exactly what the deck is designed to do. If you interpret Rafika the Many correctly, if you're playing against me and I announce him as a commander, if you interpret it correctly as, okay, so he's probably going to buff the commander, Rafiq, he's probably going to try to kill people with commander damage. Yep, that is the plan. And it works pretty good sometimes. Sometimes I get blown out because they keep killing my commander. And then we have Sig. Sig as a Sigarda. So his themes are Specters, Equipment, and Discard. Now, the Discard, that's a little heavy, so my opponents can clue into that. The Specters, it's not enough to be really tribal, but there is a good number of good Specters in there. So Sig is another card that when I announce him as a commander, they know what I can't do. No red, no green, no white. They know what I can do. Counterspell, kill things. But his ability, what does it mean? What is my game plan? They don't know. Just some thoughts on the information we give when we announce our commander. The information you can glean from your opponents when they announce theirs. Not sure if it matters, but just some thoughts on my mind. Anyway, I'm going to shuffle up Sigarda so she can fight the zombie horde for your joy and entertainment.